My name is Kevin Pullukat, and I'm a second-year medical student at Oakland University of William Belmont in Michigan, and I'll be talking to you today about mental health in pregnant firefighters. However, before we speak about specifics, I think it's important that we first consider the unique job that firefighters overall hold. So during the job, firefighters obviously have some very unique working conditions. They wear nearly 70 pounds of gear, are exposed to excessive heat, numerous toxic chemicals including carbon monoxide, as well as many emotionally charged situations. And together, all of these lead into the very unique risk factors that firefighters possess, such as an increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and a severely increased cancer risk, just to name a few. And then when we start to think about the mental health of firefighters, nearly 46.8% of them have considered suicide at some point, with 15.5% of them having had an attempt during their career. Thinking more broadly about mental health has recently become a very popular topic of research. However, we're specifically going to look at a very new area of this growing field. Switching gears now to talk about female firefighters specifically. While the number of female firefighters is increasing in the U.S., women still make up less than 10% of the U.S. fire service. An even smaller portion of these women decide to become pregnant due to the many dangers which you mentioned on the previous slide. And for those who do become pregnant while firefighting, the workplace accommodations put into place during their pregnancy typically aim to avoid solely the physical risks to maternal and fetal health, often neglecting mental health. These workplace accommodations during pregnancy are typically light-duty desk assignments, and many times these are cobbled together as their department tries to find tasks for the women to do that they deem safe. When we look back at prior research that has been done on police officers, this research shows that these desk assignments can lead to vastly limited participation in unit and team activities. This vastly limited participation can ultimately lead to potential identity crises and adverse mental health outcomes overall. However, the idea of how this drastic life transition during pregnancy, as well as its mental health effects, has not yet been explored in female firefighters, which is what we're seeking to do. We seek to address female firefighters' perceptions of their department's pregnancy policies and their lived experiences with the job accommodations contained therein. And then, we can utilize this information in order to evaluate the effectiveness of the existing pregnancy accommodations for firefighters. The main way we hope to accomplish this is using both surveys and focus groups of female firefighters. And then we can aim to gain a better understanding of the experiences of pregnant firefighters in both the U.S. and Canada. The questions we're asking right now center mainly around stigma, discrimination, if they feel pregnancy is considered a disability in their department, mobility, pain, what mental health support they've received in the past, some of their current job requirements, the pregnancy policy for their department if it exists, as well as their attitudes towards their pregnancy policy. Additionally, since our sample size is female firefighters, and as we mentioned, it is a very small sample size, this can be a potential limitation to our study. Now to speak about expected results, as this is an exploratory study, our main expectation for our study is that we learn more about the existing policies, if there are any that we find, as well as learn more about how the women feel about these existing policies. What are some of the accommodations that they like? What do they dislike about the accommodations? How do they think pregnancy accommodations overall for first responders can be improved? Another thing I need to mention is that the study I presented to you today looks specifically at mental health support as well as mental health resources provided to pregnant firefighters, but it is part of a much larger study, and the larger study has an ultimate goal of standardizing workplace accommodations and pregnancy policies for all first responders beyond just firefighters. So here are the references that I used, and a question I have for the audience is, are there any other specific measures you've used in the past to assess mental health status and job satisfaction? So I just want to thank you all for your time, and yeah.